All right, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to go off the cuff, but then I thought I'd better write it down because who knows how much I'll actually remember. So here we go anyway. But look, I'll be forever grateful for the opportunities that football's given me. I've lived out my childhood dream playing for two amazing clubs in West Coast and now Port Adelaide, but the time's right for me to retire and move on to what's next in life. The number of head knocks and concussions have left me with no other choice, and after medical advice I feel now is the right time to put my health and my family first and leave the game. I've loved heading into the club each day because of the people that are there. To individualise you all at the moment would be hard because I've loved this group and I'll talk to everyone personally in time, but I just wanted to make mention that it's my teammates, coaches, medical and performance staff, support staff and the Dad's Army boys. These are all the people that make these places so great, and I thank you all. That goes to all the departments actually of the club. I know that this year's been harder than normal and for everyone to work and stay connected to the club, but the tireless work doesn't go unnoticed, and I thank you. Football would not be what it is without the fans, sponsors and members, and this was never truer than this year where all the Port Adelaide people stuck with us. The noise and atmosphere of Adelaide Oval is something else because of you all, and the messages of support over the past few days has been truly humbling. That goes for all the messages, in fact, from everyone, all mates, all family, teammates, former teammates, opposition players, coaches, etc. It's truly meant a lot, and I know that I've had some impact on these people over the time. So yeah, I thank you. My family is everything to me, and I thank you. Mum, Dad, and Ashley taught me how to be, and Beck, I love you and admire who you are, and your stoic nature is something truly special. I'm so proud of our little family, and I look forward to watching Leo and Henry grow. Being able to contribute to the larger AFL, West Coast Eagles, and now this great club for so long as a player has been a dream, and while there is a lot that goes into a football team, I just hope that I've been able to give my little bit and play the game the right way. I did not finish off with the fairy tale I was hoping, but I can happily say that I didn't leave much else out there. So yeah, thanks again guys, and I guess we'll pass it on to Ken or open up to you guys. Thank you. I guess this year I've had a few knocks and a few bumps and bruises and whatnot, and I'd been talking to Ken, I'd been talking to the doctor, and after that last concussion earlier in the year, the doc and I sort of sat down and we talked about things, and so after speaking with him we sort of came to the agreement that all right, give it another crack and give it one last chance, obviously put the helmet back on, and but if there were to be any more knocks and any more concussions then that would be it. So yeah, funny enough, it sort of happened Friday night. I'd spoken to the group and everyone sort of understood the situation, but and I was okay with if it was at the end of this year, I was okay with that. But yeah, I guess the knock on Friday night was probably the icing on the cake in that sense. And yeah, like I said in there, it's time to put the family first and move on to what's next. Oh mate, there's a lot of what ifs there really, aren't there? And that's, I'd been okay with if that was the end, that was okay. 2 weeks ago when I was playing okay footy, I started questioning it. But mate, it is what it is, and I'm okay with that. Like I'd come to terms with this was going to be the last that I'm finishing up, and that this is it. Like I said, on the back of medical advice, on the back of what I'd spoken to the doctor about, and how we'd sort of worked through the year, and I'm, like I said, content with that. Disappointingly, we didn't quite win because it would have been a fairy tale, but yeah, it's not to be.
Can you describe that moment? Perhaps you're sitting on the bench towards the end of the game, or even when the siren goes and you go, now I know that this is it for me, that moment in your mind?
Yeah, I guess sitting there with 5 minutes to go, you're sort of hoping that we're only 6 points down, weren't we? And you sort of never know what was going to happen, and I probably wasn't in the right space to be thinking too clearly, but as soon as it happened I knew, and I'm okay. Yeah, like I said, I came off and watched it all unfold, hoping that we were able to win and that we'd be able to get it through to that next game, but yeah, it just wasn't to be.
Brad, you've got such respect within the industry. Do you expect that you stay within the industry, or you're just going to sort of take a breath and work out what comes next?
Yeah, there's a part of me that really loves football and really loves sport in general, so I'd like to stay involved in some capacity. I think, yeah, there'll be I'm not too sure what that looks like right now. But yeah, I'd like to think that I can stay involved in some way, and I guess that'll just come out in time. I think for now, for the next couple of weeks, it'll just be taking a breath, taking a bit of a seat, thanking everyone that I needed to, and being able to enjoy that retirement. And then I'll be keen to sort of look at what's next, and who knows, maybe even sell a bit more wine. If anyone wants to get stuck into that, you're more than welcome. Hey, little wines, nice little plug there, Kenny.
Hey, diddle.
Were the concussions getting gradually worse?
Everyone was an individual case, so the one on the weekend obviously affected me a fair bit. You could probably tell by not being able to sort of stand up too straight. The symptoms were lasting a little bit longer, and the impacts were not as great as what they were probably 10 years ago or whatever. So there was that element that there was certainly some alarm bells ringing, and we understood that. And like I said, when I was talking to the doctor, we sort of came to that agreement that give me one last crack. I want to try and win that flag, especially with the team the way they were and where we were at. I wanted to see this out, and to his credit, he gave me that chance. But I knew that it was probably going to be the end, and this last knock really finished it.
And in that moment when you couldn't stand up, were you aware kind of what was going on around you at the same time?
Not particularly at this point. No, that was probably the instant sort of 30 seconds after the knock. I can remember sort of staggering off and stuff like that. So, I wasn't 100% out of it and not with it for the whole period. But had I got a nice standing ovation and everything. That's nice to know. I didn't know at the time, but. Like I said, the symptoms were lasting a little bit longer, and the severity of the knocks probably weren't as great, and so understandably a reason for concern, and that's why I'm calling it.
And had it been one that definitely would have been ruled out?
I would have been pushing my case, certainly. Kenny?
He would have been struggling.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have put Brad out there again. I've had a battle with that for a little while with Brad. He's so courageous.
That's pulled your views early, has it, Kenny? What he's well,
Absolutely has. It's probably been the number one thing for me. I'm a father, and I understand that there's more things going on than playing a game of footy, and he's too courageous. I mean, that's what he's always been, and it's what he's. I couldn't have expected him to continue to play and not play the way he plays. I've seen that on Friday night. We need someone to go back. Who's the first person we lean on? We lean on Brad. He goes back and does what he does. Too courageous for his own good. That's why he's in the position he is now. He's forever a great teammate.
Brad, when you say alarm bells, are you talking about alarm bells for your long-term health? Is that no, just the health at this current period, I guess. It's one of those ones where the whole sort of long-term impact is a little bit unknown. I'd like to think that I'll be okay and it's all fine. You sort of, it's a bit of a grey area. You don't know. For every bad case, I'm sure there's a lot of other good cases. So in that sort of sense, I'm not too worried about that. It's probably that immediate impact, and like I said, the symptoms were probably lasting a little bit longer than what they should have, and that was causing alarm bells at that period, and like they are sort of now. So I'm fine. I'm comfortable that I'll be okay. But that's probably alarm bells that I'm talking.
Can you say a lot of people were saying it was so typical of Evo that his last act for the Port Adelaide Football Club was to do what he did? Obviously there was a huge amount of concern, but could you just sum up your reaction when you firstly saw him go back with the flight, the situation of the game, and then just the moments after that?
Seeing him go back with the flight wasn't a big concern to me, because that's what you watch all the time with your footballers. But when I seen him on the ground, there was real concern. I've got to say that I was probably more cautious than Brad, to be fair, about him playing for a bit longer than he probably wanted to, and I didn't probably want him to make that decision, but he was too brave. But when I see him on the ground, I'm going, no, why? Why do you put him back out there? But in the end, he needed to play, and he wanted to be a part of the club, and he wanted to be a part of this opportunity, and I couldn't deny him that either. I wanted to a bit.
How, I suppose proud could be the word, but when you look at what Brad has gone through and the ability to bounce back from something quite serious as this to perform as well? I mean, potentially could play next year. He was playing so well.
We were just talking about that walking across the grass. I said, I'm sort of half silly that I'm glad that almost happened, Brad, because you were going to try and play again. And I just knew he would. But he's just been a great person. I mean, I've been here 8 years and had Brad Ebert there as part of the leadership group, part of the person who leads everyone in our football club. There's not a young player that wouldn't want to look at Brad and use him as the example. That is what you want to be if you want to be a footballer like Westy. We've got two greats of our game and our club leaving this year together, and that's going to be a big hole to fill. But if you want a role model, he's sitting beside me to how you go about your football and how you go about being a good person. He's a star.
People as role models.
Yeah. There'll be enough. There's been a bit of opportunity for people to see him, but and you'll talk about Xavier, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
There's some great opportunities for people to to think about Brad for a long, long time.
Are you proud, Brad, to have left that legacy of bravery and courage and going about things the right way and earning the praise that you have?
Yeah, certainly. I guess you're sort of going out there to just play your role. As a teammate, I've really just tried to, be a good teammate really and do what was needed. I sort of tried not to ever get caught up in too much of the hoo-ha of chasing stats or doing any of that sort of stuff. It was really, what can we do to win? What role do I need to play? And I was okay with that sort of stuff. So I'd like to, hopefully I've been able to sort of impart that and leave that as something for the group. But yeah, I was just going to say before we go on, you were saying about the Exie thing. I've decided. Well, Xavier Dersma asked me if he could take the number 7 off me, and I was thrilled. So you'll be seeing number 7 again next year. It's just going to be on the back of Xavier Dersma, and I think he's probably a player that plays in a similar sort of manner. I think he throws himself into every contest, and a guy that I've really respected and really liked as a person. I think he's a ripping kid, and he's got a long time to come in the game, and I hope to see number 7 out there for plenty of years left. I think all the boys, Leo and Henry, will keep their number 7s on their back because he's a pretty good player to have the number on the back.
Zaid might be ready to hand it over when.
Yeah, well, that's
boys
it.
are ready.
Maybe don't know about Leo. I think maybe Henry's more interested, but
Pretty quick to jump in and to jump in.
he was very quick. He hadn't really let the dust settle there, had he? He sent a nice little heartfelt message yesterday, and at the end of it, also, can I take your number? No, it was very heartfelt, and he's a ripper. Like I said, he's a ripping kid, and I couldn't have asked for it to go to anyone better. But yes, he was very quick, mate. That's for sure. He had always said that number 7 was his favourite, so I think he'd been eyeing it off for a while.
Have you had a close bond with him for a long time? Or is that sort of...
Yeah, no, he is. No, he is a good kid, and that's like I said. I've got along with him really well, and like I said, I think that he plays the game in a similar sort of fashion, and so I've always had a lot of respect for him, and I get on with him really well. So now I'm thrilled that that's going to be the case.
I know you said you didn't really remember walking off, but now that you sort of know that it happened, and maybe you go back and have a look at it, when you had 25,000 people give a standing ovation, cheering your name, which doesn't happen a whole lot in AFL football. Sort of we see it in European soccer, we don't really see it. This sort of thing. What will that mean to you, seeing that and hearing that when you get a chance?
I guess it's pretty humbling, really. I've loved this football club, and I remember walking around these change rooms as a kid when Dad was sort of the assistant coach and kicking the footy out the back, and to know that sort of happened is humbling. Like I said, you're not really playing footy for too much of those accolades and stuff, but it's beautiful to hear, I guess, and I don't really know what else to say. It's quite special.
Brad, you came to the club when they were really struggling as well over from the West Coast.
Yeah.
How much does it mean that you leave it at a pretty good place? So the club's almost at rock bottom at that point, but then it's come right back up.
And I guess for me at that period, I just was comfortable coming back, knowing that we had the right people in place. At that point, it was really KT had taken over the helm, and I was confident that Port Adelaide has always been a strong powerhouse club, and I was confident that we were going to be able to build that back up, and so for me coming home, there was a tough period. That year 2012 was tough. Losing John McCarthy was the hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with. As a really good friend of mine and all that, that really hurt but I think the club was able to really galvanise around all that, and we've really been able to take it forward. And so, yeah, I'd like to think that, well, I guess I'd like to think that I've been able to leave it in a better space, but I guess at that point we were probably in a pretty bad space. So if I didn't, it would have been not too good at all, was it? So no, I think that the club's in a really, really strong position, and Kenny at the helm, and I think that we're in a position where we can have sustained success, and I look forward to watching.
I was going to say, you think the boys can win the flag in the next year or two?
Oh, totally, mate. Yeah, definitely. I think it's burning at the moment how it all ended, but I think we definitely have the nucleus of a strong club. I think the young guys coming through are fantastic, and the older guys that are going to be able to stay around, I think are in a position where you're looking at Boakey coming second in the Brownlow as a 32-year-old or something. That doesn't happen too often, and it feels like he's only investing more in himself and more in getting every ounce out of him. So, guys like that are going to be still performing well. So, I don't see any reason why we can't get that ultimate success.
Ken, how do you replace isn't the right word, but fill the holes that an Ebert and a Westhoff leave in that sort of leadership and culture sense which you've been so big on from their point of view?
Oh, well, they've had good time with the group, and they've had quality time to pass on what they know and how they act. I think that more importantly, people see it. And I mean, Xavier's a great example. He's I can remember a young Brad Ebert at West Coast playing, because I've been in the game a long time too, and I go, that's the way he played then is, what Xavier's probably like today, and, they play a very similar game. So he's given his jumper to a player who will honour Brad all the way through his career, I'm sure, and want to play like Brad. So there's our first opportunity to hand over some knowledge, and he reminds Xavier every time he puts his jumper on, remember the great player that wore this just before you, mate. Come out and show and lead the same way as Brad would have, and West is the same. They've got so much knowledge that they've passed on to the group. And I said to Brad straight after the game the other night, make sure you stay around, and that's really important to stay around and make sure these young people, because these young boys still love seeing Westy walk back into the club, Brad walk back into the club, and even over my time, Dom Cassisi was around the club on Saturday. They're the sort of people you need to have around your football club always. That your history and your past of your great players is something you should never lose, and we hope that we'll never lose that. And Brad, Westy, any of those past players will always be a part of the football club here, and won't be far. They won't have to look far to see what they've done.
Is there any sort of official stay in the club type thing, perhaps in your mind for someone like that?
No, I think Brad just said before, let's take some time and let him have a breath and sort out what's next going on for him, and and all those opportunities come at some point further down the track, what they are. But today it's around acknowledging what a great player he's been.
Ebo, we sit through a few of the sort of retirement things this time of year, and a lot of them get quite emotional. You seem very at ease with the situation. Is that a reflection of what you've been able to achieve in your career? You have no regrets? Is it something like that?
Yeah, I'm not too sure, mate. I probably held back a few tears, and you probably saw a few on Friday night. Yeah, it's one of those ones where even the last couple of days writing up this little thing and talking to people and just seeing the messages, it has been quite overwhelming and quite humbling to realise, like I said, that you do have some form of an impact on a lot of people that you probably don't really notice a lot of the time when you are playing. It takes these sort of moments to get a lot of that. I've had 2 kids that I've been chasing after the last couple of days, and so that probably keeps me away from them stewing on it and crying too much or anything like that. But yeah, look, I'm in a position where I would have loved to have been able to win that flag and have that ultimate success. But to me, I've always tried to forge my own path, and I understand that I've had a lot of rich history at the club with the family and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've always tried to like I said, forge my own path and have some interest outside of football. So for me, I'm excited about what's next. I've loved the club and I've loved playing football, but I'm also as equally excited about what the next chapter holds and what sort of opportunities may open up. So for me, I look at it as an excitement period. That yes, it's sad that I'm leaving football and I wasn't able to say win and get through to next week and achieve some of those things, but at the same time I'm content that I've played a lot of football and enjoyed a lot of it throughout the time, and got a beautiful young family, and I'm just excited about what's to come.
We'd be doing you a disservice if we didn't show your favourite highlights. Can you give us a couple that you look back on and think, yeah, that was my day?
What was There was a bloody good day against Swans that time, wasn't there? I remember that. But I don't
Been
wanna
plenty.
Yeah, I don't want to get too. Nah, I don't want to get too. Nah, I don't want to get too into all that sort of stuff. There's been a few games where we had a bit of fun, and we lost that one though, didn't we? But in terms of, there's been a few games where I look back and I go, yeah, there's been some good times. I remember the 2013. And the thing is, now I've become that guy, haven't I? I've got to that period where, I remember back in my day, I cop it from Dad all the time, and here I am doing it now myself. But back in my day, 2013 elimination final, I think was something special. I think that year there was a lot of stuff going on around the way that the club had tried to rebuild, and Kenny had come in, and J Mac had passed away the year before. So I remember that first home game. It was my 100th game, and it was the first home game that we got to honour J-Mac, and I just remember that as being a real special moment for me. That later that year, playing that elimination final and winning that was something that just, from where we'd come from, being able to build back up and be that team was something special. 2014 again, we had that really nice run into the finals, and that was something that I'll remember for sure. And mate, there's plenty of that sort of stuff. I don't need to go too far into how good that sort of stuff was. This year, to be honest, was as challenging as it had been, and like we'd sort of, like I'd said, I'd been working through a few issues throughout the year, and knowing that I was sort of still feeling physically fine this year, whilst it had those issues, I think was also an enjoyable one. Looking back on it now, what we were able to do as a club, I think that we internally knew that we were going to be okay, and we were building to be a strong club. Once again, we had that real connection space down pat, and I think everyone really bought in. I think, looking back in time, this year will go down as a time that I'll fondly remember as well. So anyway, I've gone long-winded there, haven't I? And there's plenty of good stuff. So anyway, I think that's, heaps.
All
But
good.
no, thank you again, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good on you, mate.